they gave me a mat with a sheet and a blanket, and they told me to put the mat under the staircase, and that's where I was gonna sleep. I was so scared, you guys. I was thinking I was at least gonna go into a room where they have bunk beds or, have a bathroom available. No, I was out in the middle of the pod under the staircase right next to the shower. And the shower's gross, okay? But check myself before I wreck myself. Check yourself before you wreck yourself. Check yourself before you wreck yourself. Alright, I think we're good. Do I look good? I don't know, you tell me. Here we go. Alright, hi guys. Thank you for coming back and subscribing and just being here for the journey. I'm really, really, really happy that you're here, and I just hope that you stick around and keep watching. I have a lot of videos planned out. I mean, I have a list. A list. You guys want to see the list? It's long. I mean, you could just scroll. I have so many videos that I want to smash out. I want to talk about the first time I ever went to jail. I figured I'd just kick it off there and kind of just give my first jail experience. It wasn't very long. It wasn't anything crazy. I was in there like 24 hours, but it was one of the scariest days of my life as far as how old I was and stuff. It was just really, really scary. I also want to make it clear that I don't want to be glorifying drinking or doing drugs or going to jail. None of that. I really am just here to try to help people, and hopefully someone can hear my story and realize that you don't have to be in that life anymore. And, I got out of it, so can you. Alright, the first time I went to jail, I was 18 years old. I was kind of living in this weird, abandoned apartment. I don't know how else to explain it. I mean, it had no electricity. We had a extension cord running from the apartment next to us over. I don't even know whose name the apartment was in. It was just a bunch of like really young 17, 18, 19-year-old kids like all living in there. It was a mess. Like, it was just a little party house. And so I obviously went home to do laundry at my parents' house, and my dad was there, and he was very, very upset at the lifestyle I had chosen at that time. And he just was very upset with me. He kind of was trying to lecture me and tell me that I need to get my head out of my ass. And now looking back, now being a parent, I totally understand where he was coming from. But I didn't want to hear it. I didn't want to hear any of it. I was just doing my thing. So I started screaming at him. He started screaming at me. I got in his face, which there's going to be stories, you guys. I got in my dad's face a lot. I was not a good daughter. He's actually my stepdad. He married my mom when I was 4, but he's my dad. And I got in his face. It was nothing new. And I got in his face and was screaming at him, calling him all kinds of names. And he grabbed me by my arms and was just like holding me, like, knock it off, blah blah blah. And we were both screaming at each other. He wasn't physically hurting me at all. He was like probably just holding me to keep me away from him, most likely, because I've attacked him before when I was younger. I was crazy. And next thing you know, I'm trying to like get my laundry basket my laundry out of the dryer, and he's kind of standing over me, like telling me to get out. And I had a keychain, a lanyard with keys on it, and I just swung it up at him. And I wasn't like, I wasn't trying to like hurt him. I was just like, get away from me, like kind of swing. But I did hit him like in the top of the head, and I didn't like at the time think anything of it. Like, it was just a pair of keys, but I had a bottle opener on it. So the bottle opener like cracked him in the head, and he started bleeding everywhere. And I was just like freaked out, and I was stupid, and I was like, F you, and I ran out of the house. Next thing I know, I'm sitting at this house, and I'm stressed out. God, 18 years old, I'm so stressed. And then I have this weird number calling me, and it keeps calling me and calling me and calling me. And I finally answer, and it's a police officer. And he says, "We know where you are. We know you're in that apartment with a bunch of underage kids. We know there's alcohol in there. We just want to speak to you. If you come to us, we won't barge in there and give everyone tickets." And I said, okay. I wasn't sure at the time what they wanted to talk to me about. I didn't know that my dad had called the cops. So I just was like, what the heck? I'll just go meet these guys. I was so freaked out. I remember like I had drank like a wine cooler, so I had waited like a whole hour to go see them because I didn't want to get like a ticket for drinking. I was so scared. And then I met them at a gas station in the town I lived in, and they came up to me and they said that my dad was hurt and that I was getting arrested. And I just could not believe it. I like was freaking out. I said, "What about my car? What are you gonna do with my car? Because my car was at that gas station." And they're like, "Well, you need to call somebody to come get it." Blah blah blah. And like that's all I cared about was the car. Like I didn't care about my dad at all in that time. Like I was so mad at him, and it was just really sad, honestly. So they handcuffed me. They said, "You're going to jail for partner family member assault." They put the handcuffs on me, and they put me in the back seat of the car, and I'm just crying and freaking out. And then I get to the jail, and like I don't know what my mentality was, but I just knew when we pulled into this garage that I had to just stop. I had to stop crying. I couldn't show emotion. I just wanted to be tough. I was just thinking like, no, I'm tough. Like I'm not gonna let any of these people think that I'm weak. Um, I went in. I didn't like talk barely at all. They put me in this holding tank, and it was disgusting. The county jail in my hometown is gross. It smelled so horrible, like vomit and feces. It was so gross. I didn't want to touch anything. I was just sitting there cycling through my head, freaking out, like, how am I gonna get out of here? Blah blah blah. And then they dressed me out. So they made me strip completely down and, bend over and cough, all of that. It was the most humiliating moment of my life at that time. I was just mortified. I had never experienced anything like that. I had never been in a situation like that. It was so scary. So then they put me in this orange jumpsuit and they give me these old nasty underwear and this weird like cloth sports bra that doesn't fit at all. And I go and they put me in the pod, and I walk in. It's the middle of the night, mind you. When I met these officers, it was around like 7 p.m. I sat in that holding tank until probably midnight. And then they finally, I don't know why they even put me in there. Honestly, now that with the time I've spent in jails, I'm not sure why they even put me in the pod. Knowing that I was getting bonded out, you'd think they'd just keep me in the holding cell, but whatever. They put me in the pod. It was in the middle of the night. All of the doors were locked in the pod. So when you walk in, there's like a staircase, and there's 5 doors on the top staircase, and then there's 4 or 5 doors on the bottom staircase and like the bottom floor, and then there's a few metal tables with metal stools like attached to the floor, like they're not mobile, they're like in the floor. um, and there was a TV on the wall and 2 phones on the wall. It was a very, very small pod. This county jail is really, really small. It was overpopulated too when I went there, and they gave me a mat with a sheet and a blanket, and they told me to put the mat under the staircase, and that's where I was gonna sleep. I was so scared, you guys. I was thinking I was at least going to go into a room where they have bunk beds or, have a bathroom available. No, I was out in the middle of the pod under the staircase right next to the shower. And the shower's gross, okay? But I had a mat, just a little thin piece of garbage mat on the cement floor. They didn't give me one of those boats, you know, like, I don't know if you know anything, if you've watched 60 Days In or any sort of jail shows. Usually, if they're overpopulated and the people have to sleep on the floor, they give them a plastic boat that they put their mat on. That way, they're not sleeping directly on the cold concrete. Well, they didn't do that for me. I don't even think that county jail has those. So I laid it down. I didn't sleep at all. I did not sleep one bit. I sat up and just like stared around. I was so terrified. There was girls that had obviously woken up from hearing me come in, and they were standing at the doors at their little windows trying to talk to me, and I was so freaked out that I would like look at them and then sit there with my head down and look at them and just be like, oh my god, I'm so scared. Like, I thought I was gonna get stabbed. I was freaking out. There was also a older woman who was also on a mat underneath the TV across the pod, and she had to have gone in there just a few hours before me off the street. I'm not sure if she was homeless or what, but she looked like she was having a really hard time, and so that really scared me too. Not knowing what I know now, I didn't have any empathy back then when I was 18. It was just all about me, you know. But now I feel so horrible for that woman. But then I was just terrified of her, and she was the scariest thing I'd ever seen in my life. I was just watching her all night, like, oh my god, don't you dare move, don't you even come near me, like, no, 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 you know. And I sat there all night, and then the lights pop on at like 5 in the morning, and the doors pop open, and I'm just freaking out. I'm like, now I have to see these people and talk to these people, and they come out, and they don't even pay attention to me. They're just like walking by me. They all do their own thing. It was so robotic in the morning. It was just, everyone came out. They were all groggy, hair all messed up, just doing their thing, you know. And then the door opens up, the main door, and this guy comes in with these trays. And at the county jail I was at, they have a hot tray and a cold tray for each meal. It was actually the best jail food I've ever had at the county jail I was in. They really do have the best jail food, I'm not gonna lie. Horrible jail, best jail food ever, hands down. So you get a hot tray and a cold tray. The hot tray had like hot French toast and syrup, and then the cold tray had like fruit and stuff in it. I sat down at a table and I was just trying to figure out what to do. I was like, I'm helpless. I have no idea. I'm 18. I'm fresh in jail. I don't literally have no clue what to do. I don't know how to work the phones. I don't know how any of this works. So I was just sitting there quietly. I ate my tray, and then everyone kind of just went back into their rooms. So now, with doing, you know, the time I had done and being in jail and stuff many times after this, I know that you just get up and eat and then you go lay back down. But then I didn't know. So I just sat up all morning basically by myself. There was one other lady out there reading a newspaper. So I just turned the TV on, and I turned it down really low. I didn't want to like wake anybody up or get anyone mad at me, so I turned it down really low, and I was just watching music videos on MTV. And all morning, when they still used to do that. Remember when MTV was cool and had music videos like all morning? Oh, miss those days. Anyways, I waited and waited and waited, and then an officer finally came in, and I was like, hey, how do I use these phones? And he was like, do you have a number? And I was like, I don't know. And he kind of explained it to me, and I got on the phone, and I didn't have any money or anything to like make a phone call, so your number is useless, because if you don't have any money on your books, you can't make a phone call. I tried to go lay back down on my mat. I lay back down on my mat, and I just tried to get some sleep. I finally did sleep. I slept during the day. People were coming in and out into the pod, and I just basically zoned it out as much as I could. I said, screw it. Like, if I'm meant to get stabbed, I'll get stabbed. That was my mentality. I like was basically at an F it stage in my head, and playing the pity card, you know, like, poor me, how does this happen to me? Oh my god, you know, all of that drama as an 18-year-old girl. Doors pop again, and it's lunchtime, and now that lunch has come, I'm freaking out. I'm like, why am I not out of here yet? Like, what the hell is going on? I'm freaking out. So now I start asking girls, I'm like, asking questions like, what is, you know, how long do you usually wait for someone to get you out? And they're all looking at me like I'm nuts. They're like, well, what do you mean? And I'm like, well, I don't know. Like, I've never been to jail before, and I think right when I said that, a few of the women were like, realized how young I was, and they were like, well, what happened? And I kind of told them what happened, and they were like, well, do you have a bond? And I was like, yeah. I told them about my bond, and they're like, well, is someone trying to get you out? And I told them yes, and they're like, well, have you talked to the bondsman? And I said no. And they were like, well, why don't you call some bondsmen? There's a numbers over there that you can call. And they helped me so much. And I ended up calling a few bail bondsmen until I found the one that my boyfriend at the time had been talking to. And he told me, yes, we're working on getting you out right now. I'm meeting him in about an hour, and then we'll head up to the jail, and we'll get you out. So I got this huge relief, and I was like, thank God I'm getting out of here. Um, After that, it was actually okay. I actually ended up playing cards with some ladies, and unfortunately, I should have read the signs. I was way too comfortable. Like, I don't know, it was just like a natural environment for me. I just ended up talking to a few people, and um, they took me in, and I was just playing cards, and it was really weird because, after being in jail a few more times after that, it's really not like that, but it is as far as when a young girl who's never been in jail comes in. They're not malicious to you, they don't attack you, they're not going to stab you like I thought. There are some people in there who are ruthless, but it's county jail. They're all just trying to get out. They're all moms, mothers, sisters. They're just doing their time. And people in jail are not horrible people, and people really need to know that. It's just they're under bad circumstances. They're not bad people. And finally, they came in and they said, "Hey, Jamie, roll it up." And I got out. I got to change out of my orange jumpsuit and change back into my clothes. I'd never put clothes on so fast in my life. Taking me down this elevator, and I get out and I'm looking around and there's nobody there. I'm like, what's going on? I had no idea what was going on. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know if I was like allowed to leave, not allowed to leave. I was kind of like, just I stood there for a long time, and then this lady at a window was like, you can leave. And I was like, okay. So I just walked out the front door and looked around, and then in the far distance, I saw my boyfriend at the time's car out there, and I just V-lined for his car like so fast. I power walked. I mean, I didn't want to run and look like, a crazy person, but I was just really, really walking really fast, like, oh my God, thank God. And I got in his car, and we got out of there. So that was my first time in jail. The experience really wasn't too bad. It was terrifying in the beginning, and it ended up being not so bad at the end. But I was so happy to be out, and I said I would never go back. That didn't happen, but I really, really wish that it would have scared me a little bit more. I wish that it would have been a little bit more scary. I don't know. Every jail is different, though, you guys, too. So if you're hearing this and you're like, that's nothing like the county jail I had been in, or you're thinking like, well, if it's not that bad, then it can't be that scary. That's not true at all. It doesn't. I just got lucky in a situation. There are some very scary situations you can be in jail. It's not safe. It's scary. Do not go to jail. It's just not okay. I got out. My dad did not press charges, so I did not end up getting a partner family member assault charge. I got slapped with a misdemeanor assault, and I had to pay fines and do community service and go to anger management. Dad and me do have a great relationship now. We ended up, I think, not talking for like a month and a half, and then we were fine. He did not, you know, bleed out and die or anything. It happened, and I'm not proud of it, and I really wish it didn't happen, but it did, and it's all over. It's in the past. It was over 10 years ago. And life moves on. I went through a lot more stuff after that before I started to really realize that I needed to change. Mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, and just I went through a lot after that. I really hope you guys like that story. Moral of the story is just try not to be so hostile. My biggest thing was I was just a very angry, angry child. And then I became a very angry young adult. And that carried through. I was so angry all the time. The world was out to get me. I'm a victim, and that was my thing, okay? Like, that was what my brain was like, but it happened, and I really wish on that day someone could have just smacked me in the face and said, get your head out of your ass and quit it. But I needed to learn on my own, and I did. If this helped you at all, please like this video. It really helps me out get into the algorithm, the algorithm of YouTube, to reach more people so that they can hopefully see this video and maybe I can help someone. Subscribe, that's really a big one. Subscribe to the channel so that you get updates on when I'm going to upload and so that you'll be the first one to know when I do post a video. If you ring that little bell next to the subscribe button, it says, you know, turn it to all, and you'll get all notifications. Every time I upload, it'll tell you. And I really hope that you guys stick around. I know this was kind of like a random weird story. I thought it'd be a good one to start off on because I'm not sure exactly what I want to do, if I want to go in chronological order, which obviously this one's going to be like smack dab in the middle, but I could start from before then and work up to this and then go after. What do you guys think? Do you think I should start just in the beginning and move my way through like a series, or do you think I should just kind of do whatever I'm feeling that day, tell that story? You guys let me know what you think and we'll go from there. I'm really glad that you guys subscribed and that you are watching this video. I'm really glad that you're here, and please like the video, like, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one. Mwah.